Recording in progress.
Yes, hello everyone. I think we'll get started with this ePing information session. First of all, welcome to all who are here or online following this hybrid meeting. Maybe I think by now we are all used to this, but if you are, interpretation is available for this meeting. And if you are online, you can use click on the interpretation button to switch between languages. My name is Serra Ayral. I'm with the TBT team at the WTO Secretariat, and I'll be moderating this session. As you know, the Secretariat has been developing a series of online tools over the years to accompany members in the implementation of the TBT agreement's provisions and procedures. And the last of which is the ePing platform, which is what we will talk about today. Just to recall, it was during the last trial review concluded at the end of November 2021 that members asked the Secretariat to consolidate the various online tools which had been developed over time into a centralized platform, a work platform for TBT matters. And this is what we had proceeded to work on. And the system went live in March, but was officially launched in July. And during the July meetings, there was a suggestion, and I think maybe from a few members in the end, to dedicate organize some information sessions where members can also share experience on how they use ePing for their purposes. And this is, I believe, the first time that we are planning this comprehensive overview of ePing for all delegations, although we've had some test sessions, feedback sessions with groups of members. And I think this is the first time we share with you the final product in plenary. And the way we will run this afternoon session is that we will first have an overview of the system, including some demos from the Secretariat, followed by a second part where we will hear from members about how they use it for their purposes. And it's meant to be an informal session, so feel free to come up, pose questions in person here or online via the chat, and we will try to cover them as we go along. I'd like to thank members who made themselves available for this session, and in particular those who are joining us from Asia, where it's quite late. So let's not lose any more time and start. So I'll turn to my colleagues Jane and Angelica, Jane Greenleaves and Angelica Grisel, who will walk you through the system first. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon. So Sarah has given a nice background of how ePing came about. I'm going to walk you through the main functions of ePing, which many of you are probably familiar with. Just to put a bit of context, how is ePing benefiting transparency? We just have an example we use often in our trainings where Uganda is exporting coffee to the United States, and the United States is regulating its coffee sector. For example, the presence of a particular chemical in coffee, and it needs to alert its trading partners as to the new regulation. At this point, a notification is submitted to the TBT committee and distributed to all other members and all other trading partners, stakeholders. At this point, this launches a process of comments, of tracking the notifications, of informing stakeholders of the new regulation. It allows producers to adjust to the measure, and it can be a useful tool for helping other regulators to get inspiration for their own regulatory process. This also then triggers the possibility of Uganda getting back in touch with the United States to get some more information on the measure if it's not clear, to submit some comments. And if it deems it necessary, it can then escalate this to a trade concern in the TBT committee. And in fact, all this flow in the notification process can be done through the new ePing system. So for those of you who don't know, ePing, the original ePing, was simply an alert system for the notifications. And this went along with the TBT NSS, which was the online submission of notification tool, also SPS NSS in the background. We also had the information management system for TBT, as well as the SPS IMS. And it is these three platforms that have been brought together under one single platform, which, as Sarah said, went live in March 2022. And this platform also allows access to the Trade Concerns database and to eAgenda. And one useful thing that has been, probably in the last year and a half, the single sign-on system allows you to use your one set of credentials for all the WTA platforms, e-registration, Interprify, Docs Online, and now all the ePing platform, etc., which vastly simplifies things. So what are the main functions we're going to be looking at? ePing allows us to stay informed on product requirements. It allows you to submit your notifications online, and it allows you to follow up on other members' notifications. So, staying informed, the platform allows you to receive email alerts on notifications that you have specified. If you're interested in a particular product or market, you can tailor your alerts to just receive those notifications. ePing allows you to search through all notifications submitted since 1995, as well as related trade concerns and other TBT documents. Well, in fact, TBT and SBS, but I'll just speak on TBT at this point. So other documents submitted by the committee or by other members. And the platform has a great section, which Angelica will walk you through a bit later, with members' profiles, compiling all information per member and inquiry point information. Why are tailored alerts important? Well, because we have about 4,000 or 5,000 TPT notifications issued per year. It's just too much information. So whereas we have product sectors from all around the world, if we have one sector we are particularly interested in, the coffee to the US market, we can just tailor our alert to just receive those notifications. And the email alert, which you can sign up to receive daily or weekly, will give you a list of all the notifications responding to the criteria that you will have specified in your registration and in any other filters you have created. And each line contains, if it exists, a link to the notified document, which means the full text of the draft measure. So you can access it directly. And as and when translations of these notifications are issued, if they respond to your criteria, you will also receive them in subsequent alerts. So I'm going to pass over to Angelica, who's going to give us a demo on the main functions of how to register to receive those alerts and how to search through notifications, trade concerns, and documents, and a brief overview of the facts and figures. Thanks, Angelica.
Thank you, Jane. So I will just stop sharing my screen and I'll share the one to the website. There it goes. Just a few seconds. Okay, so is this working now? Okay, so let's get started. So as Jane mentioned, I will show you first how we can register to receive alerts. So here we are in the platform and I'm not logged in. So I will just show you quickly if you haven't registered yet. Here's where you can do this. You click here, register, very simple. And just a heads up that this is not the real ePing website. This is the training side of the website. Is a copy of the real one, but it's only for training. So that's why you see that the address is not the same. It's not epingalert.org. Here you go. So when you register, you have just to fill out all your information. I won't go through that in detail because this is quite straightforward, but this is what I wanted to show you. So this part is super important for you who are delegates or inquiry points. I think that it's important to keep this as broad as possible. But if you want to show these to the people in your countries, to the private sector, this is what Jane was referring to. That's important to register what is the preferences. So for example, using the example with the United States notification on coffee, I would put here coffee as the product in the free text. And then I would search for coffee here in the HS code. And here you can see the codes related to coffee. So I will select them. And also the codes related to coffee in ICS. So here is the code. So you can select it. So why is this point important? Is because sometimes notification will be assigned only free text or only HS codes or only ICS codes. So it's important that you put all the information as broad as possible so you get all the notifications. So here also, if you are interested, or if the private sector in your country is interested in one of these markets, you can just include, let's say, I will put this time China, Japan, and United States. Okay, there it goes. And then let's focus on TBT because this is our area. And here you can define whether you prefer to receive them daily, weekly, or no emails. Probably I prefer to receive them daily so I can see all notifications. And then I have agreed, I'm not a robot. And you have to verify. I won't go through this in detail because I am already registered, but then you register and I will go to my profile. So then you log in. And just a quick thing, if you're trying to register, but you're having difficulty, you can use your email address of your WTO credentials. But then if you register and you forgot your password, you just need to click here, forgot your password, and then it's quite straightforward. You can recover your password, and that's all. So let's go to login, and I'll put my training account. Okay. Oh, no, sorry. And then you put your password. And then you sign in. And now you're registered. And if you want, for example, you don't remember why you have registered, you just go here, receive alerts, and you can change the information that you have once registered. So let's say, since you're delegates, you want to know everything. So you just remove the filters and you save it. Sorry. Not being able to save it somewhat. It's because I have this. Okay. And then you save it. There it goes. So here is to receive the alerts on your email. So now we are going to look into how to search notifications in general. So you go here to search. You can either come here up, search notifications, or you can go directly search notifications down here. It's the same thing, it goes exactly to the same place. So let's get started. And I will continue with the coffee example. So here in the free text, I want to look for that particular notification that Jane presented. So I will put coffee. And then the notifying member she mentioned was the United States. I don't know particularly what is the distribution date. I know it's TBT, but I don't know the distribution date. So I will jump this part and I will go to select more fields. And here, if I know what I'm interested in, what type of notifications, in my case, I want to see everything. I want to see the regular, the addenda, the revision, everything. So I won't select anything. And here I will put again the HS codes, coffee, and the ICS code. You can see here it's quite easy because you get the drop-down menu and you can just type down the name of the product and then you can see the reference to it. Sometimes it's important also to use synonyms because it can be, I had another example in another training, it was beef. And we couldn't find the codes for beef, but you could find it for bovine meat. So sometimes you use the synonyms and you can find more information. And then objectives. So here, I don't know what are the objectives, so I will jump. And let's see if I found the notification I'm looking for. And there it goes. This is the one. So I found the notification and all the addendas related to it. So that's it. To search is pretty straightforward. And here, in front of it, I have the options to save this notification as favorite. So if I click on the star next to it, I just save this as a favorite notification. And I can, in the future, if I want to follow up on it, I can refer to it later. And I can also save a filter related to this notification. Just 1 second. So here I go filter. And I save a filter, let's call it US coffee notifications. And for now on, all notifications related to these codes with this free search text from the US, I will receive here in this filter, you see? So it's here. And I will see all these notifications with these characteristics here. Let's say I also want to know about other markets. I'm interested in coffee, but also other markets. So I'll save another filter. Okay, so coffee, all notifications. Okay, so I save. And I go here and I can see, so here I can see my particular filters. US coffee, all notifications. If I click on them, I get all the notifications related to them, and I will also receive this on my email alert. And I can also see the favorites. I go click on favorites, and here are the one that I have starred, the ones that I have starred. And one thing that I can also see here in this drop-down menu is the registration filter, the one that I have registered at the beginning, you know, so the one that I can see all the notifications. So in this case, I removed the particular filters for coffee, and I kept only the markets. So here you can see you receive on your email this information. Okay, so moving forward, I will go back to the favorites. And here, what I wanted to show you is that this is a way also that you will find in the notifications the related trade concern. So every time there is a concern related to a notification, it will appear here in front of the notification. If I click, I will just choose this one from Brazil. And you can see here all the information related to the concerns, and also addenda, revision, everything related to this particular notification. If I click on the concern, I will be directed to the page where I can see all the history about the trade concern. So if I click on the country that has raised, for example, I see all the information that has been added regarding that country, and also the documents that are related. And if you go down below, just go scrolling down to the end, you can see all notifications related to that trade concern. So this is pretty straightforward. You can find all information in the same place. And another way of doing it, you go up to search again, and you click on trade concerns. And here you'll be directed to the part where you can find all the trade concerns in the ePing app site. So it links directly to the trade concerns database. So I will change my example. Let's say cheese. I put cheese in free text search, and I will put cheese. What happened? Okay, cheese in my AGES codes. So I will click on it, and I got all the trade concerns that are related to this particular product. So you see the member responding, member raising, supporting. And if I want to do it by country, I can also do it. For example, if I want all cheese trade concerns that the US is responding, for example. So I will put here United States. And you will see here in this column all the trade concerns related to US as a responding. And if I want to do the opposite, if I want to see all the trade concerns related to cheese that they are raising, I just put it United States, and I can see all trade concerns related to that they are raising. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward too. And there's another way still to see the intersection between trade concerns and notifications. So if you click on search and you go down, you see notifications and trade concerns. So I will do it. And then you go here, and let's continue with cheese. I'll put cheese, and then the area is TBT. And the member, I will continue with the US. Okay. And here again, you can see all notifications related to cheese. And I can see also the trade concerns related to this same product. So this is pretty straightforward. You see all the information in the same place. So what else we said we would look at? So yeah, I wanted to also show that you have also this same search here in the home menu. So if you go here, search trade concerns, you go directly to that same page, to the first one that we saw. So that it goes. And moving forward, we said we would look at facts and figures too. So you click here, you will find the members' profiles. So this is very interesting because you can see all the information about all members in one place. So I will use now Uganda as example. So if I go here, Uganda, and I am interested in TBT, so I will click on it. I can see down here all the information of Uganda. So we start with the inquiry point information, then here's also the notification authority. And if you go down, you see how many notifications they have sent per year. What is the type of notification? Then what is the products related to the notifications? And also if they're participating in trade concerns as raising or as responding, supporting. Then here you can see the documents related to the trade policy review. You can always find the statement of implementation, the 15.2 notification agreements between members. You can also find out whether they have accepted the code of good practices, and also all the documents that they have submitted to the TBT committee. So I think, yeah, so we covered everything for now. I'll go back to the presentation. So let me just. Okay, so going back to the presentation, just 1 second. I'll share it again. Oops, sorry. I'll share it again. Okay. So share. And then we just, oh, I think I moved forward. Oh, what happened?
So maybe, thanks, Jane and Angelica. So we're trying to take this step by step. So this first part was about searching for information, registering to receive alerts. So before we move to the next section, which is about submitting notifications, and then we will also have something about following up on notifications at the national and international level. But first, before we move on, if you have any questions, now is an opportunity just on these specific features. If not, we will move on, and maybe at the end, once you've seen the whole system, you will have further questions. So I don't think there are any questions. So let's continue with the second part.
Okay, so now to the second main function, which is submitting your notifications online, which in the past you would have done through NSS. In the past, the NSS did not allow you to submit your Article 10.7, so agreements between members, and the statement of implementation 15.2s. Now you can. That's a new feature in ePing. Obviously, on any online systems reduce the risk of errors and make processing faster, so your notifications are circulated more rapidly. And it has some nice functions like templates, so you can keep a template of your most regularly used notifications to avoid repeating the information each time. And it allows several users to be drafting the notification at one time, so it's much easier to collaborate on the drafting of the notification. You can also update your inquiry point contact details directly. In the past, you would have emailed that to us in the Secretariat. Now you can do it directly if you are a notification admin with those special rights. So if you do have notification admin rights, you can update your inquiry point information. You can draft and submit notifications. And something that's interesting is you can directly attribute drafting and submission rights to your own national users rather than asking us to. And to request these rights, you would email the ePing mailbox. So back to Angelica.
That's a quick one. This will be a quick one too. So we'll see now how to update the inquiry point information and the admin panel to submit notifications. Now stop sharing the presentation. I'll share the website. So the website, where is the website? There. Sorry about that. Okay, so there's just one thing that I wanted to show you before we start with the how to update the inquiry point information that I forgot to show you in the first part. So is how to check, how to locate other TBT documents. So this is very important too. So you go here, search, and you go other TBT documents, and you are redirected to the information management system. And then here, for example, if you want to search for document for an observer. I will take the opportunity that we'll have the session on codecs. So if you go here, you find the codecs documents, and then you click on search. And here you see by date of distribution, all the documents submitted by codecs. There it goes. I just, so here you can see the last one, which is this one. And then you can do the same thing for the documents, for example, submitted by the Secretariat. So I go back and I put here Secretariat document, yes. And let's say conformity assessment, for example. And then I don't know the date exactly that I'm looking for, so I will just search. And then again, you can see all the documents and you can rate them, like try to see what is the latest one. So you click on this and then you can find the latest document. So let's go back to the, yeah, so back to the, yes.
I just want to interject here to Angelica, because just to clarify that we, normally delegates access Docs Online to get the research on documents, but Docs Online has its advantages and disadvantages if you're looking for something specific. And so what we had done in the past, it started with the SPS IMS, but continued with the TBT IMS, is that we extract the metadata from documents. So you cannot search for the free text in documents here, but if you want quick searches based on who submitted something, including the Secretariat, what's in the title, what's in the dates, you can do quick searches here, which can be quite practical. And another practical aspect is that you can generate a table, or you can quickly see an overview. So it has some advantages for quick searches if you're just sticking to the TBT realm. And just to explain that this part is still under construction because it's sending you back to our old system. And one of our plans looking ahead is to incorporate this part also visually and functionally fully into the ePing. Currently, it's taking you elsewhere. So it's kind of work in progress. Thanks.
So continuing, so referring back to the presentation that Jane was doing. So now we are seeing how to update the inquiry point information and also the admin panel, how to submit notifications. So here, inquiry points notification authorities, you click on it. And sorry, it's taking, okay. And you see the complete list of inquiry points. And here we click on TBT because we are interested in this particular topic. So TBT inquiry points. And for example, Transparent, this is a fictitious country that we created for the training. And I am pretending that I am representing this country. So I will go here and edit. So I can edit all the information, contact information, address information of this particular country. And you go here, you fill out all the information here, and then you save. And this is how you can update the inquiry point information. It's pretty straightforward, just here, and then TBT inquiry points. And now we said we would also see how to submit the notification. So if you go here to the admin panel, usually the only ones that will be able to see this information, how to submit notification, is the person with notification outreach rights that Jane showed in the presentation. So we won't go into detail on this part here in this demo because we'll have a session specific for this. We don't know yet, but we will let you know the information about this. And I will just show you very quickly how it looks like. So this is the dashboard. So I clicked here, submit notifications, and this is the dashboard. And here you can manage users, as Jane said, grant, submission, or drafting rights. And then you can see all the types of notification. Addenda, core agenda, regular, emergency. If you go down, supplement. Oh, yeah, sorry, I am on SPS, so it should be TBT. I'm sorry about that. So then you, again, you see all types of notifications. And there it goes. So I won't go into detail on that, and I'll go back to the presentation. So just quickly.
So just to say that we will announce a separate date to focus on this aspect, submission of notifications for notification admins, because that's quite a specific task, and we'll have a separate session just on that, probably during the course of November.
So it seems to get stuck when we go back in.
Let's try to go back up. It's weird. Okay, so it worked again.
So now to the third main function, as I mentioned before, this is a function which allows you to follow up on other members' notifications, and you can follow up at the national level or at the international level. So firstly, at the national level, so we have our country, our sort of demo country, Uganda, with its notification. And here we have the national users, so the users in Uganda who are able to hook up amongst themselves and to use the national forum, which is administered by the little guy in the middle with the padlock. So he's the admin. Sometimes I have difficulty explaining this part because of he's the outreach admin rather than the notification admin. The outreach admin is activating the national forum, which allows the other users in his country to send emails to each other, to, for example, get information from each other if they're preparing comments to be sent to the inquiry point of the notifying country. The admin user can also reach out to its own users to post other information on relevant trainings that are happening. So the outreach admin can activate and monitor the national forum, and it can also reach out to its national stakeholders. And again, as before, you would have to get those rights, you would have to email the ePing email. On an international level, the same kind of notification can be discussed in an international levels between all the outreach admins again, who can post information on the international forum. And I think one of the earlier in the demo, Angelica had in the list of filters, one of them was information added to international forum. So you can actually filter out the notifications where something has been posted on the international forum. So again, all sorts of information can be shared on the international forum, comments. Many countries, particularly the US, are using this to alert to the fact that they have submitted comments on a particular notification. Informal translations can be shared on the international forum. And then amongst themselves, they can reach out to, and you can create a chat. So the international admins can speak amongst themselves in a chat, which is separate from the forum, in fact. So again, obviously these rights have to be requested separately. And we're back to Angelica again.
Back to the demo. I promise this is the last one. So we will start with the national follow-up, and then we go to the international, and then just final useful links. So going back, so I stop sharing. And I go to the website. Okay. All right. Okay, so here again, if the person has the outreach admin rights, this part here, reach out, will appear on the screen once logged in on the ePing website. So you click here, reach out. And we'll see first the national follow-up options, and then we'll go to the international. So I would start here with the groups. So first, if you want to send, I don't know, information about a notification or request information from stakeholders in your country, you just go here in groups and you add a group. And let's say, so here I am representing Transparent. So let's say I want to follow up on that notification on coffee from the US. So I will say, US coffee. notification, and I will save this group. So this is the group in my country to reach out to stakeholders in my country. And I can add users to this group. So let's say I'll add this person and I'll save. And then I can also do it the other way. I can here already send an email. And where's my group? Wait. Just 1 second. Let me go back because sometimes I get confused in this part. So yes, okay. So I'll do it that way. I think it's easier. So I'll just get the people who are here, the national ePing users, and I'll add them to my group. Yeah, US coffee notification. There it goes. I'll save this. And then I want to send an email. I can already send an email to them here, or I can go up and, you know, if I want to send this email directly to the group, I go here and I add the group here, and then I can put all the information related to this subject and send it out. I can attach a file and everything like you do in a normal email. I can also do that for non-registered contacts. So if there's a person who isn't registered on ePing yet, I can also add them to that group or send an email to them directly. So I just prepared it. To do that is very easy. So you go add new and you just fill out this information and you save. So I did it before so that we don't waste a lot of time. So I put it here and I can add this person to my group, US coffee notification, for example. And then I add and I save. And then I can send an email to that person or directly to the group as a whole. So there it goes. Something else that is important here for national follow-up is to activate the national forum. So you go here, national forum, activate. I will activate only for TBT because this is what we're talking about. And then once you activate this, you can go to a notification. And okay, so I'll go to my favorite. Yeah, they're already here. So for example, I want to send a message related to this notification. And here you see the international forum and the national forum. So I just activated the national forum. Before I couldn't see the national forum here. So now that I have this option, I can add information to it and I can post a message. And then I can add information, and everybody, all the national stakeholders that are registered on ePing, they can see this message and they can also follow up on that particular notification. You can also upload a file if you want. Okay, I shouldn't have done that. Sorry about that. And then I will just pretend that I'm doing. So I'll put test. And I will post, and then here you have opened a national forum on that particular notification. So this is all national stakeholders can see the information here, but not stakeholders from other countries. So I close, and I can also share this notification with that group that I have saved before. You remember the US coffee notification group? So I can share the notification and send it by email to that group. Okay, so this is on national follow-up. So now let's talk about international follow-up. So we said that participants can, outreach admins can also post information on the international forum. So here, the information on this particular forum is open for everybody to see, but the only people who can upload information there are the outreach admins. So here, for example, as Jane said, some inquiry points are using these to let others know that there's been official comments that have been submitted, and also and others have also included already the file with the comments and submitted through it. So what is important to note about this feature is that it doesn't replace bilateral interactions, but it's good because you can see the information that has been added by other inquiry points, and you can, it's good for transparency. You can see if you have the same doubts, maybe you can reach out to those other admin outreach people, and you can discuss the information. So let's say I will post, it's very straightforward. So you just click, you write your message, and if you have an official comment, you click here and you say, and you just go post, and you posted, you said you'd let them know that you posted an official comment. So I have another one that has been already prepared. I think is this one from Brazil. So yeah, so here George and Marianne helped with that. So you can see here the comments that they have uploaded before. Okay, so another option that you can also do in case you want to follow up on a particular notification with inquiry points, with the persons who have the outreach admin rights, you go to reach out and you go here, admin users. So I'll keep with the example that Jane mentioned before. So for example, if my colleagues from Uganda want, if I'm from Transparency and I want to discuss this notification with colleagues from Uganda, because I know that they have similar concerns about this notification, I can just go here, click on George and start a chat with him. Let's say, US notification admin chat. Oh, sorry, here's a typo. And I start a chat and it goes directly here to the chat. I can drop a message. I would just say test. And there it goes. I have a chat with George and I can post. And I started a chat with him. We can discuss whatever queries we have about that notification. I just wanted to show you here the chats that I have pre-prepared before. I had one with Marianne about the same notification in another training. So there it goes. So it works like that. And I said we would also cover more information. So if you go here, more information, you see some frequent asked questions and your doubt may have already been asked. So you can find some information here. And you can also find the materials that will be developed and also useful links. And down here on the TBT side, and then you see the TBT gateway where information is posted every time there is a new event or something new happening, and also on the ISO gateway. And this is a TBT inquiry point guide. So I think this is pretty much everything I wanted to show. Oh, there is something I forgot before, but this is quite interesting too. If you go to facts and figures and you go notifications, and here you can find overall information about notifications, not from a particular member, but from everybody. And here is SPS and TBT together, but then you can pick only TBT. And then down here you find notifications per year, the top 10 notifying members, notification over year by development status, the objectives of notifications, and that's all. So I think that's pretty much everything. So stop sharing and we'll go back to the presentation. This is the last time we do it. Okay. And there it goes. And over to you, Jane. So it's stuck. Don't know why.
There we go. So just to close, just a few facts and figures on ePing in practice. We now have only nearly 19,000 users. And yeah, spread pretty much equally between private and public, but most in the public sector. And here are the top 10 users. I mean, the top 10 members with the most users, obviously. United States, somewhere over 1,000, and Vietnam pretty close behind. 94 members have at least one notification admin, and 118 have at least one outreach admin so far. You may have heard that we have an ePing app now that can be downloaded in the App Store and in Google, what is it? Google Store?
Yeah, I think
Google,
so.
yes, Google Store, sorry. The app doesn't give you all the features that the main website gives you, but it does allow you to track the notifications, receive the alerts. We have a few little things we're still finalizing, but it is available and very useful. And that's it. And maybe we could have some questions.
Thank you, Jane and Angelica. As you can see, the system has quite a few accessories that come with it and options. And I think ultimately you have to try them all out yourself to see how they work for you. And maybe you will have more questions then. But before we switch to the second part about where we'll hear from members on how they use certain aspects of the system, are there any questions? I don't know if there are any. Yeah, Miriam, please, from the US.
Thank you. Thank you for these interesting presentations. I just wanted to ask about the National Discussion Forum and the International Discussion Forum. As far as I understand from past interactions, you can't see the, if you're a national user and you don't have admin rights, you cannot see the International Discussion Forum. That is only available to admin users of ePing. I just wanted to make sure that was still correct. And also, I wonder if you do turn on the National Discussion Forum, can the users of ePing, other national users, begin discussions amongst themselves using a notification, for example, or can they just start conversations independent of a notification? Just for clarification.
Okay, yeah, I'll try to have a go at this one actually and see if colleagues want to come in to further clarify. In terms of the international forum, it's only those with outreach admin rights who can post, but what is posted is publicly available information, so everyone can see it. What is a bit different is that in terms of receiving alerts, it's in order to create too many alerts going out every time, it's the outreach admins who would get the admins who would get the alerts that something has been posted, but they're visible for all to see on the ePing website. So that's one information. And in terms of the national forum, indeed, once the admin activates it, in terms of notifications, anyone from that country can start the chat, start commenting on that notification. But if you're talking about a discussion independent of a notification, that actually normally would need to be started by, again, the outreach admin who has a list of all national users, and they can use, they can send an email to national users on any topic by going to sort of, I think Angelica showed it, but we can show it again if you're interested. We can then, you can go there and say, I want to send a message to all national users, or only my group who's interested in coffee, and send them an email and start a discussion. So those are the options. I don't know if my colleagues would like to add anything.
And just one other question. While maybe in future we envision that members could submit comments to one another in ePing right now, I understood that bilaterally, or that ePing doesn't replace any discussions in the International Discussion Forum or the National Discussion Forum. They don't replace bilateral engagement. But I did want to check to see if there's a way that comments could be posted if a national discussion person or a national user posts its comments in ePing, who would be able to see that? Would it only be the US users, for example, if it was a US stakeholder, or would others be able to see that as well?
So let me see if I understood the question right. If we're talking about the National Forum, it's those who are registered as being from that country who can see that discussion thread in the National Forum. And not someone who's, let's say, if it's US and Mexico, it's it's only those registered as being from the US, but not anyone from Mexico. But there's no monitoring of who is claiming to be from which country. So it's for practical purposes. And the other issue is, I guess, that at the international level, for now at least, it is possible to exchange comments, but at least for now, the existing methods of official communication remain. And if members are interested, eventually, just like we're doing with submission of notifications, that system can serve as a tool for exchanging comments, but it's not the case currently. Oh, and yes, indeed, we will share the presentation on the website that's been dedicated to this session. So you should be able to see it there. And maybe I also, listening to my colleagues present, I think at least for those who may be following it for the first time, it can get a bit confusing with the different kinds of admins. And there are some reasons for that, at least for now. Each member has a designated notification authority, official notification authority, who has the power to submit, prepare and submit notifications. And that's why they get the notification admin rights. But in some countries, some governments, there's another person, maybe sitting at an inquiry point or elsewhere, who's more interested in the domestic outreach of incoming notifications. And that's why we have an outreach admin right for those. For many countries, it may well be that the same person does both the outgoing and the incoming notifications and alerting domestic stakeholders regarding those. So it was a way to accommodate different arrangements at home for you. But if you have questions on this, you can approach us and we can help you identify who are, the best officials to receive which rights. And it's really flexible and upon the request of a member. Keeping in mind that those who have the these outreach admin rights can see the full list of national users. And in fact, we do have in our conditions of use or terms and conditions explanation that there is an issue that this person does have access to a list of national users, which is to take into consideration on to whom you grant these rights. If there are no questions on the chat, yes, I think there is one in the room, actually, yes, please.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. In which page are you going to share the presentation, please?
Over to my colleague, Una.
Yes, we do have a dedicated web page for our thematic sessions and also for this session. So if you go to the TBT page, you'll see it on the right-hand side. So we will add all the information to that page.
Okay, thank you. So maybe we can now move to the second part where we will hear from members, officials from different parts of the world about how are they actually using ePing, which features are they using, whether it is to prepare and submit notifications, whether it's to raise awareness among domestic stakeholders on incoming notifications, or it is to reach out to counterparts in other member governments. And so we will walk through different regions of the world and hear from officials working on transparency matters and using ePing. And I'll invite them to focus on concrete results on really how they use the different features and any efficiency gains, for example, they also have been able to observe. And considering that we have two members from Asia joining us, I think out of courtesy to them, we will start with them, these presentations. So I'd like to start with the Philippines, who break the record in joining the latest in terms of their timing. So we have Ms. Catherine Antonio and Ms. Yasmin Metro from the Bureau of Philippine Standards, and they would like to share with us their experience on how they've been raising awareness on ePing domestically, how they've been using the features on preparing, submitting notifications, and what plans they may have going forward. So I'd like to invite them to share with us their remarks and presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Sarah. Jasmine here from the Philippines. If I may share my presentation first. I hope you can see it in full screen.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Let me proceed. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. It is an honor to be invited to speak and share our experiences in using ePing to benefit from the TBT transparency framework. So our office, the Bureau of Philippine Standards, or BPS, serves as the Philippines National Enquiry Point, or NEP, and National Notification Authority, or NNA, in compliance with the agreement. As the NNA, we notify measures to the ePing alert system, and as of this date, BPS only has the admin rights. As the NNA, we also monitor regulatory agencies' website to ensure compliance with TBT obligations, after which we make representation for them to notify these measures. We also coordinate with our stakeholders through dissemination of weekly WTO TBT notification bulletin. This bulletin is disseminated by sectors. We email it and post in the BPS website. We also receive assistance from the Export Marketing Bureau of the Department of Trade and Industry by posting the bulletins in their social media, like Facebook. And in order to raise awareness on the TBT agreement and ePing alert system, we conducted weekly information sessions for our stakeholders. Similarly, we reach out to regulatory agencies and BPS technical committees to also conduct information sessions for them. But unfortunately, due to pandemic, this activity stopped, but we endeavor to continue by early next year. And next, the BPS in collaboration with other DTI bureaus conducted the WTO National Workshop held last September 13 to 15 at Makati City in hybrid setup. A total of 165 participants attended. A total of 12 sessions focusing on the TBT agreement, trade issues, activities of international standardizing bodies to support the agreement, current trade issues in the Philippines, trade technical regulations, and good regulatory practice were among the topics that was discussed. A hands-on training was also provided by the WTO Secretariat on the step-by-step process procedures for drafting TBT notifications for our regulatory agencies, as well as introduction on how to use the ePing alert system. At the third day of the workshop, a special session on ePing alert system for private stakeholders was conducted. This is in line with our continued effort to promote the use of ePing to private sectors for them to be alerted and to be aware on the proposed draft regulations on product requirements of the WTO members. So during this session as well, three national ePing users from the private sectors shared their experiences on utilizing the ePing alert system. They also shared the benefits while using it and some concerns while using the said platform. So one ePing user here shared that the ePing addresses and improves regulatory compliance. It helped them to see the latest notification from the WTO members they want to enter. assist in managing risk, improve supply chain planning, and facilitate smoother change management process. So all ePing users shared same concern that some notifications, some full text are not available in English. So for our way forward, like I have mentioned earlier, we really want to continue our information sessions for our private and public stakeholders. We also want to propose to our principals the conduct of regional workshops wherein we will be uh, going region by region in the Philippines to reach out also to our micro, small, and medium enterprises. And we'd also like to develop materials highlighting the benefits of said platform. Thank you. That ends my presentation. Again, thank you very much for inviting the Bureau of Philippine Standards to share our experiences. My colleague, Miss Catherine Antonio, is with me to answer some questions, if any. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for the presentation and sharing information on your workshop and some of the feedback from the private sector. Are there any questions for the Philippines? I think the United States. Marianne, please go ahead.
Thank you for your presentation, Philippines. So you mentioned that you've done 12 training sessions, and I'm just curious how many have the sessions been in person, or have they been done online virtually, or has it been a hybrid offering for the training sessions? Thank you.
Thank you, Marian, for the question. Actually, it's not how many sessions, it's 12 sessions in the TBT National Workshop. So, but previously what we do is we currently do hybrid and virtual sessions for the TBT information sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? I don't see any. And I think the issue of language is one that is very pertinent for many countries. And maybe this is a nice way of connecting this presentation with the next one from Vietnam. You also maybe get a chance to ask questions later on to all speakers, but let's move on for now to the next presentation, for which we have Dr. Tian Dan Ngoc, who's Vice President of the Foreign Trade University in Vietnam. And in fact, he'd like to share with us a special partnership they have developed, public-private academic partnership, actually, to help reach out to small and medium enterprises, to help them follow and understand what these notifications cover. So with that, I'll turn over to Professor Tan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. The Foreign University, as I on behalf of, actually we are not the national agency, but we are an university, a higher education institution. However, we have done a pilot project relating to the ePing, so I just want to share with you the experience of the FTU, stand for Foreign University, when we do the ePing pilot project. The overview is, I think that if we can skip that because of the technical barrier is for the Vietnamese exporter. It's similar to other countries. It's always one of the most obstacle for the exporter. How we do the pilot project in the FTU? Let me introduce a little bit about the FTU, the Foreign Trade University. university that we based in Vietnam, and we started established in 1960 with a single discipline in international trade. Even though for today we have expanded to other disciplines, but we still see the international trade as our main and traditional trade. That's why we have a wide network with both the government and the enterprise in terms of international trade. And when we running the project, we are expecting that the project will have the some of the objective for the ePing. We will aim at raising the awareness of the enterprise about the ePing. So far, if you see in the statistic that shared by the secretary just before, I think that the awareness of the enterprise in Vietnam about the ePing has increased very much. Uh, Partially because of the TBT and SPS barrier is the main concern for the exporter from Vietnam. But also, I think that is the some of the activity of both the government of Vietnam as well as the academic institution like the FTU when we trying to raise the awareness through the many channels, including the national forum that I will share later. And in addition to that, for the enterprise, we are trying to see whether the ePing will have Vietnamese business stay informed about the changes of the regulation in the target market, enhance the accessibility and information exploitation. It is, I think that it is already explained by the by the overview presentation on how they can be receive the notification to their email, how they can filter the most appropriate information for them to do. However, we in addition we do want to facilitate the in-depth discussion between the company expert and the business association. That is the important objective of the project when we use the national forum to create the discussion between the company, expert, and the business association about the applied measure. And the particular objective for the foreign university, we assess the possibility of including the ePing in the FTU academic syllabus. Because the FTU we have a curriculum on the international trade, and in this curriculum we have the subject of trade theory, international trade policy, and we have already added and we already added the subsection on the TBT and SPA, also a hand-on session on the ePing in our academic syllabus to our students. And we really see that it is the sustainability of the project. The activity of the project here including two parts. The first part is include the ePing in academic syllabus and international trade policy subject of the FTU. By this activity, we think that the student of the FTU that will be later when after they graduate, they will become the MOIT, the military, the trade official, or they can become the staff for the import export enterprise. So they are aware of the ePing that will help them a lot in their career in the international trade in the future. So it's a long-term of raising awareness of the people, of the stakeholder for the ePing subject. And the second activity, the second group of activity of the project is the translation of the ePing notification of selected sector, and we posted it into the national forum. And I think that is what we aim for the short-term impact for the ePing notification. And we do it in some of the sector only. We do it in fruit, vegetable, seafood, and leisure and footwear. Why we translated? Why we do some? Why we selected those sector? Is based on the three criteria. The first one is if from the main export market of the sector, and to be the most updated, and to be the most concern for exporting enterprise because we don't have enough resources to do everything. So we are just want to test whether it will be impactful for the ePing notification on those sector. It is the process that we carry out the activities. First, we have the preparation stage or the information pilot stage. The participant, we collect that through our network, the association. So it's the second stage the implementation. How we do that? We do it at the first translating the notification from English
from
to the
English
national
to the
language,
national
which is
language,
the
which is
Vietnamese.
the Vietnamese.
It is a little bit
It is a
different
little
with
bit different with
that the Philippines share just before. The national
the
language
national
of
language of
Vietnam is the
Vietnam is the
Vietnamese. So
Vietnamese. So
somehow the
somehow
import
the import
exporter of
exporter
Vietnam
of Vietnam
are
are
facing some
facing some
a little bit
a little bit
difficult
difficult
when they are
when they
facing
are
the English, especially in the technical term when it's presented in the TBT and SPF notification. After translating the notification, we are proofreading the
proofreading
code,
the
and
code
we
and
what we
what
added
the
here is to
idea is
seek
to
the expert advice. Why we are seeking the expert advice from the international trade specialist as well as the official of the trade association and the lecturer, the ATU, because we want to make sure that the translation is easy to
easy to
understand in the
understand in
local
the
language,
local language.
as well
As
as
well
we
as
have also have some notes on the full note on how the how to explain a little bit further for the notification.
information.
And after
And
that,
after
we
that,
send the
we send it
translation to the
to the
BFNI
BCD
in
in
Vietnamese language.
Vietnamese language.
It is we use the national forum to send the translation to the
Translation
BFNI.
to the BCD.
If it's
It is
authorized
authorized
by the
by the
TBT
TBT
employee
employee
portion. And then
and
after
then
each
after each
translation that is sent to the BFNI, we try
we
to
try
create
to create
a discussion among the
discussion among
Vietnamese
the Vietnamese
exporter
exporter
by
by
providing
providing
some
some
guidance
guiding
to the national forum so that the
so that the
enterprise, the
enterprise
the exporter of Vietnam can also send a
can
comment or
comment
even
or
ask the
even
question. And
and
we, as the higher education, the academic institution, we are
we are
trying to
trying to
cooperate with the
cooperate with
association and the
and
inquiry
the inquiry
party
party
to discuss, to
discuss to
facilitate the
facilitate the
discussion
discussion
and to
and
support the collaborative
uh,
action of the
action of the
exporter
exporter
to
to
to see
to
whether
see
they
whether
can
they can
take
take
advantage,
advantage,
they
they
can
can
overcome
overcome
those
those
SPA
extra
activity
activity
manager.
manager.
And the
And the
final
final
stage is
step
the
is
survey
also
to collect the
like the
opinion.
opinion
Of
of
course, because
public
of the at
uh,
this time in
in
April
April
2022,
2022.
we just to survey to
So
collect the opinion on the shorter impact
uh,
of the
of the
enterprise,
enterprise,
and the
the
result is
original
quite promising.
this
That
that
98, 96% of the
the
enterprise see
enterprise
that the translation is necessary, and more importantly, is 100%. It is
it is
necessary to use
necessary
the
to use
national
it.
forum. So is the point that I want to make to underline here that the national forum is a very very important for the
For the
ePing
ePing
user
user
because
because they can
for each country the exporter can have some similar way or
work
similar concern or similar way to overcome to work
to
to respond to the
respond to
SPA
the SDA
activity.
activity.
If we use the national forum effectively, it can
It can
create
create
a very
very
lively and
lively
active
and active
discussion.
discussion.
And the
And
third
the third
number here is the
number is
association for the long term
also
of the project is also encouraged
encouraged
by the
by the
enterprise.
enterprise.
And it is
And it
some
is
of
some of
the picture on how we run the project. And
and
finally, the pilot project that we have
that we
done
have
so
done
far,
so far.
especially the pilot
Especially the
project
pilot
is
project is
focused on
focused
the
on the
translation of the
translation of the
notification.
notification.
But the other part of the project is putting into the syllabus of the university. We are already done and we are continuing to teach the ePing hand-on session and the ePing for our students. But the
But the
translation of the
translation of
project
the
component, the
component
component of the
of
project
the
will
project
impact
will impact
because we provide translation and the note and the full explanation, and also to simplify the technical requirement by helping them to create activity the innovation technical, and it is our sharing experience and when we think ePing, and we are welcome for any question or comment from the international. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing with us information about this innovative project, where you're really drawing on resources from different entities to make full use of the transparency mechanism that's set up under the TBT agreement. I don't know if there are any questions at this point for Vietnam. Yes, please go ahead, US.
Thank you, Vietnam, for your presentation. It was very interesting to hear about your pilot project. I was just wondering how you identified stakeholders to participate in the pilot project. Did you just ask members of industry if they wanted to participate, or did you have a particular sector in mind? We're just curious about that, as we are also reaching out to our stakeholders as well about ePing.
Yeah, thank you for the question. First of all, we identified three sectors for running the pilot project. But the sector was chosen by the criteria. First of all, it is the main export product of Vietnam, and the second that we have the most updated notification. So it's the updated notification. And the third one is about the number of the activity notification in this sector. So we, based on these three criteria, we choose the sector. After we choose the sector, we are working with the association, the industry association, that trying to send the information inviting the enterprise, which is the member of the association, to participate in the project. Depending on each sector, but normally the member of the association for each sector will account for the majority of the exporter of this sector in Vietnam. That's we choose the member, the participant in our project. Thank you. I hope that it answers your question.
Yes, thank you. That does. It's very interesting.
Thank you very much. Maybe I also should note at this point, following this exchange between the US and Vietnam, that these are the members with the highest number of users on ePing. US, I think, has just maybe passed 1,000. And I think Vietnam has around 900. So this is your chance to get inspired by your colleagues who seem to be actively promoting ePing. And maybe this innovative project can also inspire other members to reach out to their academia, which has been an interesting collaboration, it seems, and fruitful one. Just I saw in the meantime that there was a question in the chat. I think these questions maybe keep coming up. I don't see them. So I'll just take a moment to go back to something that was posed about national and international forum. As we clarified, the national forum is really for those who signed up from a country, that country. And the international forum is for basically the admins of each country to post comments, translations, queries, but they're for everyone to see. Then there's another layer, which is an admin chat at the international level. And that's really only among, let's say, I'm an admin and I choose 3 other officials from 3 other countries and I start a chat with them. And only we, the 4 of us, can see it. So nobody else, although it's at the international level, it's a chat. So these features have been developed over time, by the way, in light of feedback and requests from inquiry points, other officials. And that's why maybe over time we have to see which ones are being used, if they need modification. But this is how it is to operate at this point. Are there any other questions for Vietnam? If none, we could then move on to our third country, and I suggest we move on to Africa now, from Asia, and move to Kenya, where we also have a participant. And I have to also say that we recently had a new initiative at the Secretariat called Transparency Champions. And our speaker for today is one of those champions who joined our new initiative, Jared Odongo, from the TBT National Inquiry Point of Kenya at the Kenya Bureau of Standards. And now I'd like to invite him to share with us his experience on how Kenya reaches out to national stakeholders or international counterparts, and to what extent they use ePing also to reap efficiency gains. So hopefully this, we will now connect to Jared.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jared Odongo from Kenya. It's about 6:28 p.m. right now in Nairobi, and it's raining. I'm happy to join you in this meeting virtually, and I would like to share my experience with you concerning ePing. Recently, we had a transparency champion in Geneva, where the African delegates converged for a training on ePing. Right now, let's start with what we do with the ePing. As a country, we have ePing administrators, that is at the NNA and the National Inquiry Point. So the National Inquiry Point on TBT is based at the Kenya Bureau of Standards, and we do drafting for both TBT notifications and the SPS notifications that are of standards nature. On the ePing, again, we also do the outreach. In brief, we reach out to our stakeholders, that is both the national and the international stakeholders. So to begin with the international stakeholders, we do make inquiries through the ePing. We use the ePing chat for the international forum to reach out to our admins from other inquiry points. Mostly we find that it's a little bit easier for us to reach out to our admins, international admins, because we do not require to look for their credentials or emails, but through the international forum, we just get their contacts directly, and we just chat with them and get the information that we require. I think at a particular point, we've even communicated with Mary Ann when we required information from US to get the information directly without using the normal email. On the national forum, we use ePing chat forum to send messages to our stakeholders, though it has not been so much. We are in the plan. We have the plans to create groups, which of course I've already developed the action plan, which I'm yet to share with my members. Before I do that, I need to seek approval from my management team. So first of all, I've developed the action plan after the champions training. And now the action plan is yet to be shared with my management team to approve it, so that we can find a way of implementing it. So before we implement, we'll also need to identify the groups that we'll chat with, especially the TBT committee, and then the regulators and other key stakeholders who are the consumers of our information, especially on TBT matters. Again, we also receive information from the rest of from other admins, but they do come in just small numbers. So I cannot commit that we receive a lot, but just a few once in a while. But what I can also add is that the ePing system is an efficient system because we do not require to use different systems to notify SPS matters, TBT matters, as well as raising the e-agenda postings. So we do that both on ePing. Like recently, we used ePing to communicate our e-agenda through the e-agenda platform. The other thing is that I've talked about inquiries, I've talked about drafting notifications. So currently we've planned a recruitment forum. We are yet to hold a workshop around 24th of this month because we've committed to increase the number of ePing users. And we must get them through the key stakeholders. That's why we planned an awareness workshop as well as recruitment program. One of the challenges that we are facing on this is that some of the admins from the international forums tend not to respond to our inquiries. And some of them tend to give us feedback that they cannot communicate directly to other inquiry points. That is some of the feedback that we've received from some of the inquiry points that we've contacted directly using ePing admin system. The other challenge is that from the stakeholder side is that there are some stakeholders that do ignore the messages, and some also leave their areas, their employment, or their let me say their employment, and some of that information does not reach us, and you see they still remain as stakeholders in the system. So if you don't get any information that this particular person or stakeholder has left his organization, it becomes a little bit challenging. But you see on the system, it's recording that maybe you have maybe even 1,000 stakeholders registered under ePing. And then another challenge is lack of feedback from the stakeholders, especially when you post anything. You don't get feedback. It's also demoralizing, but we are trying to raise our levels of awareness, though it's challenging in terms of resources. I think I submit up to that level, and I'm ready to receive questions.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience, very clearly the benefits, but also the challenges. Even if you have the best tool in the world, if you had, you still need engagement from all parties to make it most useful. But that was also very interesting. And I think, of course, this session is a series of activities we could hold to raise awareness on the different functions of the system, maybe how they could be further modified to make them more useful for you. So we also take note of your comments about maybe not all officials, all admins being engaged in the same manner on the tool, and we can see if there's any training or clarifications we can provide going forward. And I can see that also we could eventually have more hands-on sessions so that everything we explain here we can do sort of in a real workshop format. Maybe I'm here thinking during the June special meeting on inquiry points that could provide an opportunity maybe to do more hands-on as well. Are there questions for Jared from Kenya? Just to also note that Kenya is also in the top 10 ePing users. I think they have 450 registered users. Of course, again, some may have moved on, might not be active stakeholders. But let's see if there's any other question. I don't know if there's anyone on the chat. If not, we'll move to our fourth speaker for this afternoon. And that's, I wanted to call now on the US, Marianne Hogan from the Inquiry Point, who was with the National Institute of Standards and Technology in the US, to share with us their experience in using increasingly ePing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, other presenters about ePing. It's very interesting to hear everyone's experiences. We have our experience as well, and I'll just share a little bit with you about that with ePing. So I checked late last week, and we had a little over 1,000 subscribers to ePing, as has been mentioned. But in our current system, which we are in the process of transitioning away from and transitioning completely over to ePing to track TBT notifications, we still have about 2,963 active users. But interestingly, only about 300 of the 300 users have really logged into that Notify US system. That is our current notification alert and distribution system for the United States. Only about 300 have logged in the past year and a half or so. So I have a feeling, though, that our ePing subscribers are more active. That system that we are transitioning away from, Notify US, that has been active since 2005. And it is sort of sad to see that system, I think, go away. But we're also very excited about ePing, and especially since we already know that, to Jared's point, that we know that our users are seeing notifications there and are using the ePing system. So some of the questions, I wanted to address some of the questions that the Secretariat had asked us about, for example, how we are raising awareness on TBT transparency, the TBT transparency framework, as well as information about ePing. How are we getting this out to our stakeholders? A lot of this is done through word of mouth, but we rely on our interagency communication group, primarily a group that is maintained by the Office of the United States Trade Representative. They represent the United States officially to the TBT committee. The Inquiry Point carries out the transparency obligations under the agreement. And so that has turned out to be a very nice partnership for us, apart from being mandated in our law to do it this way. But we rely on that trade policy subcommittee group to communicate information. And we have built a network of colleagues across the US government that are in touch with our stakeholders. And so they create awareness of ePing as well. So far, what the Inquiry Point has done is we have offered training, customized training sessions as we make the announcements about ePing. So if you actually go to the Notify US website, it's pretty easy to get to, www.nist.gov/notifyus. You will see very red looking text posted on our website to direct people to begin to use ePing. We are transitioning away because that system has been operable for so long. It's pretty much reached its end of life. So one of the challenges that we're facing is, how do we make sure that US stakeholders continue to use the Inquiry Point for official communications about the notifications? For example, to ask questions about notifications and also to continue to submit their comments. I will say that that's been a challenge for us even with Notify US. And I expect that it will continue to be a challenge going forward with ePing. But it's sort of a constant awareness raising that we basically rely on the word of mouth of the interagency colleagues who work with the stakeholders to let them know. I don't have any quick or easy solutions for that. I just think that it's something that we continue to work on as we go, and especially as we transition away from Notify US. We expect to do that early next year. We think that we will have a lot of questions, and we are already thinking of the efficiency gains in our workflows, at least in the inquiry point from this transition. One of the things that we foresee is that the staff members who currently prepare the notifications that are distributed by the WTO and then upload them to Notify US, those staff members, their time will not be so taken up with creating that extra information in Notify US. They can then focus on the content of the notifications and working with stakeholders to understand ePing and to understand what they may do in response to a notification. And I think in that regard, we may all be in a very similar situation when we're using ePing and facilitating awareness of ePing. The fact that our stakeholders would still need to contact the inquiry point to submit its comments. Some of the other points that we could address, let's see. How do we use ePing to reach out to international counterparts regarding notifications or related matters? For now, the United States does sometimes share unofficial informal translations, especially when another WTO member asks. If we're able to, we will share them, and we're not doing anything very fancy there. What we're doing is when we're able, we will obtain a translation of the text using a Microsoft Office tool and Microsoft Word for translations. And then we'll go through it. We'll go through that unofficial translation to see if there's anything that looks out of place, and we may move things around a little bit, but we don't do anything fancy. We would then post it for others to see, with the idea that at least you could get a basic idea of what the measure is about. We haven't tried out the admin chat. We do post, for example, when the United States has submitted comments to another member, and please feel free, other inquiry points, to reach out to us if you are interested in those comments. Sometimes we are able to share. That goes back through an interagency process, however, so it may take a little while for us to respond to your request to share comments if you see that we've posted there. Some of the challenges that we see right now, maintaining two systems, the ePing system, just watching what's happening there and remembering to post that the United States has submitted comments, but also maintaining Notify US. That's been a little tricky for the last few months. But we know that it's only a temporary, situation for us, and going forward, we'll just be looking at ePing, and I'm very excited about that. I think there will be some unintended effects of just using ePing and not Notify US, and perhaps even unintended consequences. But I feel pretty certain that with our the trade agencies in the US government, the International Trade Administration and the Department of Commerce, for example, we'll be able to address those challenges together. And I look also forward to collaborating with you and to hearing about the solutions and the challenges that you face and solutions that you have, that you come up with to deal with the challenge you face as well. So thank you for this opportunity, and any questions are welcome.
Thank you, Marianne, and also thanks to you. You have been accompanying our transition from sort of numerous systems to one, and you have always caught us if we have some mistakes or errors or things we can improve, and you always make very constructive suggestions. So thank you for the collaboration as we move forward and try to keep up with changes to make ePing sort of a relevant and useful tool. Are there any questions to Marianne regarding their experience? If there are none now, maybe we could move on to our last but not least speaker for this afternoon. So now we are moving to Latin America, and we have now with us Ms. Janet Marino, who is the head of the TBT Inquiry Point, and she will also share with us her experience back home, in particular on how ePing serves them in terms of preparing and submitting notifications, and a little bit on also the outreach they're intending to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you very much everyone else who has shared their experience this morning. Now I'm going to try to respond to the questions as they've been set out and to explain how it is exactly we do this in Ecuador. The ePing system in Ecuador has been used since 2018. Prior to this, we were using the Andean community system and of course email to the WTO. However, we had already run into notification problems, notably when it came to duplicating the document codes as well as meeting the reception and implementation deadlines. Likewise, when it comes to chapter subheadings referring to national regulation. So we decided that the ePing would be a more efficient system for our notifications. At this point, we began to use ePing for notifications and has assigned 3 levels of administrator. So the first is the one that creates the notification. So they have the right to upload all information, and this is to distinguish between those who are working in health areas and other areas. It's also worth noting that when it comes to health issues, we as coordinator took the decision to avoid the harmonized system and to move to the ECS system with a view to there being a greater depth of explanation with regard to the rules. Furthermore, on the levels of authorization in ePing, we are reviewing the system. So we have a system which looks at technical rules and aligns it with the harmonized system. And then there's a third level, which is the approval of the notification, as well as defining the dates which will go into the system for receiving comments and for implementation. Furthermore, on this third level, this is what I do, is also where we receive alerts in the case that there is a notification which may be of interest to the parties. Today, when it comes to the use of ePing by interest parties, although we do use the share notification icon, we have a duplicated system, and this is so that because the private sector requested it and allows them to have a more formal documentation to ensure that the different trade unions understand. But over time, we are thinking about bringing this back into a single track. Furthermore, Ecuador has also committed to strengthen transparency in its regulatory matters, and particularly with regard to the information that we use, both nationally on quality as on information that goes into the notification. In other words, we use all of the information that is submitted in ePing, or it's done through our statistics division. This means that we notify our authorities nationally so they know what information is going in officially to the notification. Furthermore, we are also continuing our training both in the public and private sectors to raise awareness to the importance of notifications. So we have tailor-made chats for the private sector, particularly our public sector, particularly for agencies that are related to work on quality, as well as in the private sector. And this year we have planned a series of meetings which aim to set up a national forum for subscribers, as well as those working in food and export who are interested in having a panel on issues related to these topics, as well as on ePing for all of those interested. Moreover, as a focal point, it is us who approve these processes. We find that we are quite limited when it comes to the summaries which are requested, and we have heard from India and South Africa that when it comes to these communications, there is a requirement to be very specific and to use the system itself. However, I think that it's worth highlighting that ePing is not necessarily a tool for highlighting transparency, whilst it does allow us to get into contact and to begin consultations, but above all, in our case, it allows us to receive communications and observations, or when it comes to specific notifications, entering into contact with those who have information of interest. Now, in this case, we have a case with the European Union where the contact has been able to give us more information, and particularly with regard to the timelines when it comes to time zones. So in this case, inquiry points have been in a position to help us with information. Furthermore, some other qualities that we'd like to point out on ePing is solving problems early, particularly with regard to STCs. So we have had cases where there was a lack of information and we were able to address this early prior to it being raised as an STC, thanks to the different clarifications which were sent, again, prior to us having to raise an STC. Furthermore, on the administrators forum, it's worth noting the utility of the observations section, which Marianne has introduced, which allows us to keep up to date with all of the different contact points and to put in our own information. But it's worth noting also that all of the focal points need to be much more active, which will allow us, again, to ensure that the system remains active. Now, the benefits to my day-to-day work: better information management, to harmonize all of the document codes in Ecuador, as well as to promote awareness raising in authorities and public entities of the importance of transparency, as well as the use of the information from ePing. It's allowed us to reduce the time periods within our exchanges with other countries, as well as to ensure that the notifications that we make have all of the information, including an policy impact analysis, and that goes the same for notifications from other countries. Now, I think it's worth saying that ePing is something which has a very bright future. It has certainly facilitated and supported our day-to-day work, as with other countries. Now, perhaps I should say that whilst we've been using ePing, and we think it's worth considering the possibility of generating, for example, emails for focal points, as well as specific folders for administrators, which will allow in some way or another important notification-related information to be communicated, and particularly to have a tool to help us work with the private sector so that they can see more the advantages of this information. So again, thank you very much to the Secretariat for all of the support that you have given, helping us with notifications and focal points. And thank you. I'm open to any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeanette, for your intervention and sharing with us your experience and views on different functions of the system. And just to reiterate once again that it's been evolving for a long time and it's going to evolve based on your feedback. So it's very important to really see that members use the system and give us feedback on features that need further improvement, change, and so on. And I also wanted to really connect what you just said early on in your intervention about using HS codes, ICS codes, and product definitions. Because if you recall when Angelica presented how to register, this is so key, especially for the private sector, because if they don't realize that our notifications do not always have full information, they may be missing out on very important information that may affect them. So it was interesting to see here how you managed to provide, to the extent you can, full-scale information in the notifications. And this is another area that the committee is looking at also in the trial review. This was a very important issue raised by members, and we will next year have, hopefully also with the participation of the World Customs Organization, some further workshops also on improving use of HS codes and product descriptions in notifications, which would in fact improve ePing's utility further. Are there any questions or comments on Ecuador's presentation? I also see that they weren't in the top 10, but I think Ecuador also has more than 350 users, or 370. So it's also one of the active members in terms of ePing usage. So again, I'll check if there's anyone in the room or virtually a last time with any reflections, or my colleagues, if you want to add anything. If not, maybe we can conclude this session by, first of all, thanking the presenters who took the time from all around the world, in this case, to join us, to share their experience, and just to also underline that this is an ongoing dialogue. Okay, and that we will continue to hold sessions, and if you have feedback on how we can make these sessions even more useful, and maybe whether we can do hands-on sessions, please don't hesitate to get back to us. I think there's a question online. Oh, okay. If Jared, if you have a question or comment, please go ahead. But,
okay, thank you, Una, once more. Yeah, mine is not a question, but I just wanted to comment on the issue of HS codes. I've realized that we have a lot of challenges on assigning HS codes, especially on where a classification is on broad-based. Let's say you talk of tomatoes and it's in a class of vegetables. So we need more practice on assigning HS codes, especially on broad-based classifications. Thank you.
yes, thank you for the suggestion. In preparing for a workshop for next year, we'll take that into account. Of course, it will be very valuable for inquiry points to share their experience with each other, but we'll also try to bring in some experts. And I think that was one of the conclusions of the transparency thematic session held in July, was also to have a workshop and focus on sort of those product groupings, which let's say are more cross-cutting across various HS codes, for example, if it's food or chemicals and medical devices. So these are issues we will see if we can sort of get some more feedback on. Did I see another question? No, I think that was just a comment. Okay, well, I think we're reaching the end of our 2 hours. It's getting dark now in Geneva already at this time. So I think we will conclude here. Thanks again. And we will be posting the presentation, the recording of this event and the presentations later on this week. And as usual, don't hesitate to contact us with any questions. And have a good rest of your day. Thank you.